For the first time since 2011, an American soldier has been killed in Iraq. It happened this morning during a rescue mission at an Islamic State prison. According to the Pentagon, American and Kurdish commandos raided the site in northern Iraq, freeing 70 captives, including more than 20 from Iraqi security forces. 5 IS fighters were captured and several were killed. Reporter Michael Gordon is in Iraq covering the story for the New York Times. I spoke with him a short time ago. So, Michael, tell us about what the importance was of this strike.
Well, it was important in for a number of reasons. First of all, it was a rescue operation and a fairly daring one that involved American Special Operations Forces, including Delta Force and Kurdish Special Operations Forces, brought to the scene by American helicopters. So it was a very kind of proactive operation, but also it was really the first time that we know of in which American advisors have accompanied Iraqi or Kurdish forces onto the battlefield. I mean, up till now, they've been advising and training them, but only within the confines of training areas and bases. This time they were advising them and in a support role, but they were on the battlefield with them as well.
Who were these 70 hostages? Who are they?
Well, we don't know precisely, but it was clearly the Americans and the Kurds thought there were some Peshmerga fighters there who they were trying to rescue, and they thought there were perhaps 20 people there. When they got there were about 70, and they included Iraqi security forces, but not Peshmerga. They included some local citizens of Hawija who have been incarcerated by the Islamic State, and perhaps some people the Islamic State suspected as traitors in their ranks. But we don't really know who all of these 69 people are. The Kurds are still sorting through them.
Was this strike designed to, and did it achieve significantly degrading ISIL at the Islamic State forces in that area of northern Iraq?
Well, it was a rescue operation. It was perhaps 20 or so militants were killed, depending on whose figures you can believe. But the point was, the aim of the operation was to rescue the people who were being held in a building in Hawija and who were under threat of execution. And there have been a number of atrocities there in recent days. Here in the New York Times Bureau, we had a report a few days ago of how 11 young people have been hung and strung up on a bridge to retribution against their parents who are associated with the Iraqi security forces. So this was first and foremost a rescue operation.
You mentioned, Michael, earlier that there was significant U.S. involvement in this rescue mission. What does this tell us about the state of the Iraqi Peshmerga forces who were involved?
Well, these Kurdish forces are usually pretty capable. These would have been the high-end commando forces. So on the one hand, it tells you that the Americans have enough confidence in them that they would join them in a rescue operation in enemy territory. This was a very Islamic State stronghold, and so that they would have that a certain degree of confidence on them. Clearly, the Kurds are not at the point where they can do these things entirely on their own, and but that's really not surprising. I think the raid is really going to perhaps energize the debate in the United States over the American military role in the Middle East. I mean, a lot of critics say that if we're going to make headway against the Islamic State and roll them back, we're probably going to have to do more than just have advisors that stay within the confines of military bases. Even General Dempsey, when he was chairman of the Joint Chiefs, said there might come a point when he would recommend that advisors accompany Iraqi forces if, for example, the coalition was going to try to evict the Islamic State from Mosul. The critics, on the other hand, are going to cite this as an example of mission creep, because here you had advisors and, well, one was killed. It's the first American who was killed, died of his wounds, since American forces returned here after 2011. So I think the raid is going to have a lot of significance for the debate in the United States about our role here. Perhaps And that may be sort of its larger significance in terms of American policy in the region.
And it certainly will be a continuing debate, not one that's ever flagged. Michael Gordon for the New York Times tonight in Baghdad. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you.